All right, hello everyone. It's finally happening. It's been a while, or it's been a long time coming, I should say. But I finally get to make book content. It's been a long beginning to 2025, and now I figured we're in the second half. I finally have somewhat the means to make a few videos here and there, which is what I've been wanting to do, which is make book content for quite a while. But I've just been hindered by a lot of different things. And one of the first things I wanted to do was talk about, kind of give you a feel for my taste, what you'll be seeing here often on the channel, on whatever I'll be doing from here on out. And with that, I'm sure I'll get hopefully a little bit better at this as time goes on. But for now, I wanted to talk about the books that I read as an English major. I majored in English, I studied English, read a ton of books, had to read a ton of books for it. Now, I'm only going to be going through the books that I had to read for certain courses that are typically fiction or epics or something like that. I'm leaving out poetry, I'm leaving out short stories, I'm leaving out literary criticism. So, this is mostly what I've read. It is not everything, and I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in here that I've forgotten as well because I think I counted here. There's only 38 books. I wanted to also just keep it short with the main stuff, but there's a ton of short stories I read, a lot of poetry that I had to read, a lot of literary criticism that I had to read, theory stuff like that that I don't want to bore everybody with. So I'm doing a lot of classics. I'm doing a lot of things that people have heard of. I'm doing a lot of stuff like that. So, with that, I want to go ahead and get into the list here. Some of this stuff actually is, also high school reads. We just dive a bit deeper into it in college, depending on the course load and depending on what the course is about. And surprisingly, this first one that's up here is Brave New World. I did not have to read in a literature class. This was actually for a philosophy class. If I remember correctly, it was for ethics. I had to take an ethics course, and with it was Brave New World. And this is actually something that I read in high school, something that I'd already done before. And so this is, it made me love my major, right? So these are the categories I have here. So I didn't introduce that previously, but top tier will be made me love my major. Below that would be would reread. Next would be enjoyed. That's it. I just enjoyed it. It was a nice read. The one under that was tempted to spark note, and then under that would be made me want to drop out because there are certain things on here that I questioned if I even really wanted to be doing what I was doing. So here we go. So again, Brave New World made me love my major, made me love that I had to take an ethics course. It was really interesting as we discussed kind of the nuances of the book and about how they apply to real life. We also ended up watching Wally in that um, class because we started talking about like deontology, hedonism, virtue ethics, things like that, and how if you've read Brave New World, you know about Soma and about things like that. So we started talking about a lot of things concerning what creates a dystopia, especially a dystopia built upon pleasure, and I really found that interesting. So Brave New World definitely starting off strong with a top tier choice. So let's see. Great Expectations. So I had to read this in a world literature class taught by one of my favorite professors. And actually, though, honestly, with Dickens' writing, I'll be real, I was tempted to spark note this. I finished it. I read all of these, but okay, except one. I'll admit to not completely finishing one and getting notes from a friend. I did not spark note it. I did not spark note it. I talked to a friend of mine who had read it because I told him I just couldn't get through it. But we'll get to that when we get to that. Um, but for Great Expectations, I don't like the way Dickens writes. That's kind of the gist of it. Is really long, arduous. I ended up using an audiobook for a good portion of it. I like the way it ended. I like the way he tied everything together, and I like what ended up happening. But I was very much tempted to spark note this. I didn't, like I said, but it was huge temptation, and I'll just leave it at that. It was not my favorite read at all. But I digress. That's Great Expectations. I know there's a few like YouTubers on here, especially some that I watch that love Dickens, and they've made me want to try to read Dickens again. Maybe one day I will, but for now, I'm leaving him alone. Next on here, the one that's always talked about with Cormac McCarthy, right? And especially, I gotta give it to him, right? Uh, Blood Meridian made me love my major. I had to read it for the first time for an American literature course, and I had to write a paper over it, a very long paper. I think it was ended up being my final paper over it for that course, and I just loved it. I fell in love with it. It was beautifully written, although it was very violent, although it's very harsh. Um, it just, it brought out a lot of good things for me as far as studying literature and what can be studied in literature, and actually the power that literature really kind of gives to the individual and the reader themselves. I was Yeah, I was blown away by this book. There were parts of it where even I was not necessarily, you know, halted by the violence, but I very much was taken aback by how violent a book could get. And that's again what I had to write the paper over was the violence contained within it. So, Blood Meridian made me love my major. It was fantastic. Made me love literature. I loved it. It's a great read. It's talked about a lot, so I'm not gonna say too much about it. But it's fantastic, and I've read a lot of Cormac McCarthy after it, and each one is just fantastic. Does anything top Blood Meridian? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's top tier. It's fantastic. Flowers for Algernon. So I'm gonna put this in would reread. Um, well, it's between that and enjoyed because here's the reason I wouldn't reread it. Okay, it devastated me. One of the only books that I read throughout my entirety of you know, my studies that genuinely almost made me cry. It made me feel a lot of emotions for the main character. I actually had to read this for a adolescent literature course, if I remember correctly, and this was just devastating. I was not prepared for this. I had never heard of the book before this course, and once I had read it, I was just floored. It was so devastating. It was so sad. It was so, uh, you know, visceral, I guess. And I just could not get over it, especially near the ending. If you know how this book goes, then you'll know why I'm telling you all of this the way I am. So yeah, it was just a very harsh, harsh, harsh read for me. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about that one. What is this? Trying to determine what this even is. Is that Pride and Prejudice? No, hold on, I can't tell. I'm an idiot. It's Daisy Miller. It's Daisy Miller. Okay, so my bad. I would put that as enjoyed. I neither hated it nor loved it. Um, and to be honest with you, I probably couldn't even tell you most of what happens in it. I know it's about a woman who just kind of, throws caution to the wind and does what she wants to do. Very good feminist lit, I guess, in that sense. But I read this very early on in undergrad. It wasn't even a grad school read. This is an undergrad read that I had to go into. Um, and yeah, I don't remember a lot about it. I just remember it was written well. I liked the prose. I remember that. That's how I got through it. Because I didn't care much for the plot. Just couldn't identify with it. I was a young 18-year-old, so it is what it is. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a pretty good one. The Turn of the Screw. The Turn of the Screw. I'm gonna put this at would reread. Definitely would reread this. I read this for a Gothic lit class, if I remember correctly, and it was really fun read. It's a really short read, so it didn't take me long. But it's a really fun read. I liked the aspect of, the unreliable narrator within it. Um, or more the unreliable like characters and things like that. You don't know what's going on. You don't know who's crazy. You don't know who's sane. Stuff like that. Really enjoy plots like that where you can't really trust everybody that's in it. So yeah, I would say for the Turn of the Screw, I would reread that again. That's definitely something that I liked. That I more than just enjoyed. I would definitely give it another shot because I mean you could read it in like a day. So um, now for something that's not necessarily controversial, but I mean, I would say slightly, because yeah, I just enjoyed the Odyssey. Took a whole class over the Odyssey. Ended up reading it as I took the class because we weren't required to read the Odyssey. We had to read certain sections of it, and then we read books that kind of followed it. So like Mrs. Dalloway, Ulysses, sections of Ulysses, stuff like that. But but we'll get to those here in a minute. Um, but I ended up reading the Odyssey in this course, and yeah, it's great. I'm not going to lie; it's a classic for a reason, right? But I just enjoyed it. It was a fun adventure. I see how a lot of people identify with it. It has gone down as of course, one of the greatest stories ever told. But for me, yeah, just enjoyed it. It was a fun read. Maybe it was a translation. I don't know if it could be a different translation, and I'll enjoy it more. Of course, it's very poetic. Obviously, it's a poem, right? It's an epic, and so with that, maybe that could be the reason why I saw it that way. But aside from that, it's just an enjoyable read. A lot of great quotes, a lot of great adventure in it, and I'm really respecting a lot of the new age ideas and myths coming from the story, right? Where a lot of the women get their voices, right, and things like that. That's coming out now. A Thousand Ships, Cersei or Kirky, whatever, however you want to say it. Um, but yeah, I really enjoy it. And that's the new stuff coming out about it. So now for the one I was dreading. This is the one I was talking about earlier. Persuasion, Jane Austen, made me want to drop out. I hated this book. I hated this book so much. Um, Read a meme a long time ago about Pride and Prejudice, about how like it's just people going back and forth between each other's houses and talking. That's I didn't feel that about Pride and Prejudice, although that is what happens. It's at least entertaining. Persuasion, I could not handle, and call me a whatever you want about it's because I'm a guy or because I didn't I don't get it or whatever, but I just didn't like it. I just didn't like it. I was bored the entire time. A lot was going on in my life at the same time that I was reading this, so that could have contributed to it. But this is the one where I just asked a friend of mine to give me their notes on it and to talk about it with me, and we talked about it for like an hour, hour and a half, and I understood it, knew what was going on, was able to contribute to discussion, was able. I didn't have to write a paper over it or anything. I think I had to write like a single like one pager over it, like a paragraph, and that was it. But to my old professor that taught this course, because it was a romantics course, I read everything else and I loved it. This was the only thing I didn't like. Okay. The next one, Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness. Love this. Now, would I reread it? Or, I mean, I would reread it, obviously, but did it make me love my major? Did it make me love what I was doing? I would say so, especially after seeing the things that it influenced. Like I watched Apocalypse Now after this, and just seeing what was done, how it kind of correlates to it. I was really impressed by that, and so yeah, I would say that Heart of Darkness is something that made me really enjoy literature, and especially the way that it can convey certain ideas and the insanity of a character. I'm always drawn to that idea. That's why I like Blood Meridian so much. Also because of the judge who doesn't, obviously, but I'm really drawn to that idea of just a very insane character, genuinely insane character who is, kind of gone off the deep end and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, Hard Darkness really made me love my major. When Things Come Back, I would say I enjoyed this. Excuse me. When Things Come Back, this is, from what I remember, it's about a character whose brother, disappears, and there's a lot of religious fanaticism in it that I found really interesting. They talk about the Book of Enoch a lot in it, which I had heard of, but had never really gone into or learned a lot about or anything like that. This made me learn a lot about it, and I found it very interesting. I come from a religious background, and I very much enjoy religion in books and specifically Christianity because that's my background, right? And I find it very interesting how books use Christianity for certain plot devices and things like that. And this one, especially when things come back, I thought was very interesting and very enjoyable. for me. So it's also a very easy read. Nah, I wouldn't say you could read in a day, but maybe just a couple days. And because it's young adult lit as well, I think this is for that adolescent lit course. I had to read this, and it made me appreciate actually adolescent lit, like young adult literature. It's not that I looked down on it; I just didn't see it as something that I wanted to enjoy. But this book, When Things Come Back, really made me kind of dive into it and enjoy it more. Same thing with, I don't have it on this list, I think, but Eleanor and Park kind of did the same thing for me. I did enjoy it as much as When Things Come Back, but it was still an enjoyable read, and again made me kind of appreciate the ideas of adolescent lit, and made me. It took off my my glasses, I guess, of the idea that that is somehow lower, right? A lower form of literature. It's not. It's really not. It's definitely something worthwhile, and it really exposed me to my ignorance of that genre. So I appreciate it for doing that. Same thing here, actually, for Looking for Alaska. Strangely, had to read this for my Comp 1 course, one of the first things I ever had to read, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I was not, okay, wait. Because I was tempted to spark note it at first, but it's because of my preconceived notions of young adult literature and John Green. I hadn't watched Vlogbrothers or anything like that, so jumping into Looking for Alaska at first, I kind of yeah, but I ended up enjoying it. I ended up enjoying it. Not as much as all the other stuff on here, like as far as young adult literature goes, but it was enjoyable. It's a very good plot. I haven't read any other John Green book aside from his nonfiction. I read the Anthropocene Reviewed, and I thought that was really good. But aside from Looking for Alaska, it is what it is, and it's a nice book. Ulysses. So here we go. Getting into Joyce and Ulysses and things like that. I read, and I'll be completely honest, read the majority of it. Did not read the entire thing. So I guess if anything, we're going to put that at was tempted to spark note. Okay. So I ended up reading through the majority of this for my Odyssey class because I was really curious about it. I had never heard of anything like this before, and so read through again the vast majority of it. There were just certain chapters that I just could not get through for various reasons. I ended up using an audiobook for some of it as well. And listening to it on audiobook helps, but it's hilarious because there's certain things in there that you just don't expect them to do. Uh, and you think you're reading it one way, but then the narrator will read it a certain way, and it's just man, it is funny. It makes it a lot funnier if you listen to it on audiobook because I know it's supposed to be comedic. But yeah, that's a very interesting one. Waiting for the Barbarians. So this one, man, Waiting for the Barbarians. Where would I put that? I don't think I was necessarily tempted to spark note that one. Uh, so I would say I enjoyed that one. I enjoyed it. It was something that I found very interesting. This was also for my world literature class, and it really exposed me to the ideas of colonialism and the dangers of colonialism. So I would credit it that. So yeah. There's not really much I can say about that one. It's very short. That was another way you can probably read in a day or two. Um, and I recommend it actually. I don't know if I'd reread it because it also had its very dry moments. But throughout it, there's a lot of interesting characters and interesting ideas contained within it. Again, especially regarding colonialism. So I would say that it's definitely worth your time. I don't know if I would just go back to it, right? So The Awakening, Kate Chopin. So, when I first read it, I'm gonna go off like my first reading of it. I was tempted to spark note this. I hated this book. And again, this could be, this is my young self talking. I'm almost 28 now. I had to read this at like 19, 18, 19, something like that. And I had to, I did not understand the ideas of feminist lit. I did not understand the ideas of the awakening fully, as, contained within this book. It was taught to me very well, though. I did enjoy my professor's lecture over it more than I did enjoy the book. I ended up, and I know it's not even that, long, right? But it very much I think it was Kate Chopin's writing. I understand local color and stuff like that was a big part of this, but a lot of it was her prose that I just couldn't really get through. I did not enjoy it that much. Um, but yeah, I mean, I digress. I enjoy it now. It's decent. I enjoyed it a lot more than I did. I appreciate it a lot more than I did. But at the time, I was very much tempted to spark note this. Frankenstein. Our professor was very adamant that we read the 1808 edition, and not only would I reread this, but this made me love my major. I had never read Frankenstein before. Before this, and we actually ended up celebrating its 200th anniversary. So this is 2018, right? That we read this, and it was fantastic. I loved this. The professor taught it with such passion and grace, and I think that's another reason I ended up loving it. But Frankenstein, fantastic novel. If you've again a classic, so if you've never read it, I recommend you pick it up. It's epistolary, which I didn't know going into it, meaning that it's written in letter form. But I love that. It does a lot for the book, and I think it really enhances the experience for the reader. I loved it. So I very much recommend Frankenstein for anyone who hasn't read it before. It is definitely worth your time. Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. Strangely enjoyed this more than Tom Sawyer. So we're getting into the Mark Twain stuff now, which I did a whole class over Mark Twain for my American Lit studies and really enjoyed Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court. It's very strange. It's really fun at the same time and very funny in the sense of Twain's style of satirizing a lot of different things. So yeah, I don't want to ruin a lot of that stuff in that one because that one's just an interesting read, and I would reread that. I still have it on my shelf. I should go back and reread it. Um, put it on my TBR sometime soon. But for right now, yeah, I just want to say back then, even back then, it was a great read. Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, right? So we read a lot of people read this in high school, so I don't really need to talk about this one too much. Um, I would reread it, but as far as like ranking goes, I just want to say I enjoyed it, right? So like, and I've read it three times, I think, by this point. So I had to read it in high school. Then I think I had to read it twice in college. So I'm kind of done with Huck Finn. I enjoyed it. It's great. The whole point of it, the whole plot of it is fantastic. The message of it is fantastic. But yeah, it was fine. It's good. It's good. It's a classic for a reason. Let's see. So Mark Twain's Letters from the Earth. This was weird. This was very strange to me. Would I reread it? Or would I have reread it back then? I'm just gonna go again with just enjoyed it. I'm just gonna go with enjoy. I enjoyed it. I wasn't necessarily tempted to spark note it, nor would it be lower than enjoyment, because I found his nonfiction writings very interesting. It's just that he's very cynical. We talked about that with my professor, who is very passionate about Mark Twain. Um, he's very cynical. He becomes very cynical later on in his life because of a lot of different tragedies that happened to him in his life. But yeah, very strange ideas in here. Very interesting essays that I'd recommend you go check out. Um, but yeah, very fun, very interesting stuff. Puddinhead Wilson and those extraordinary twins. I was tempted to spark note this, so it's fun that we get Mark Twain kind of all over the place. Uh, I didn't really like this one. I thought it was strange. I mean, I like all his stuff is kind of weird, but this one was a little too weird for me. And especially with the time period he wrote, I just thought this was like his kind of his weakest prose. So again, it's a very interesting, but also not for me. Time to spark note this one. I don't think I used an audiobook. I just kind of trudged through this one with having a few and sitting down and reading it and getting through it. So because I think I was in grad school at this time, so I could legally do that. So Tom Sawyer, enjoy. I mean, who doesn't enjoy Tom Sawyer, right? It's a classic for a reason. Again, like I said, it follows Tom doing his thing, being a menace, and the misadventures he gets into. So it's just a good read. Classic. Love it. Housemaid of Dawn. Housemaid of Dawn. Sorry. Now, of course, this is for dramatic purposes. None of these books actually made me want to drop out, but it did make me question, like, what am I doing? Why am I doing? Why am I reading a bunch of books for, for my major, all this stuff, right? Um, yeah, I didn't really get into the plot. I didn't really get into. I read this for I think a Native American lit course, and while there were a lot of good things in that course, some of them I don't really remember. Ceremony was probably my favorite out of all of those, but um, or Winter in the Blood, which I don't know why I don't have those on here, but those were good. Those were great. Loved reading those. Housemaid of Dawn, didn't really care for. Did not really care for much at all. Same thing with Kim. Again, loved the professor that taught the course. I remember this was from my World Lit course. Also understood the point of reading this, understood what we were supposed to, take from it and stuff like that. There's a lot we were supposed to take from it, but man, it was just a drag for me. The adventure I didn't really latch onto. I couldn't really get into the prose. I couldn't really get into the characters. I didn't really like any of them all that much. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Kim. And not just because Kipling is who he is or who he was, right? It's just, yeah, did not like it. The House on Mango Street. I would definitely reread this now, right? And back then, I think I would have done the same thing. This is a great book. A lot of interspersed short stories kind of coincide with each other. That they talk about a lot of different things, and I think they're definitely worth reading. They're all worth reading. They're all a good time. Now, when I say that, not everyone's having a good time in them all the time, but they're definitely worth your time. They're definitely worth checking out and reading. Again, this is another kind of short book that you can read within a day or two, and they talk a lot about race. They talk a lot about violence, and they talk a lot about relationships and stuff like that. I really found it interesting. If I remember correctly, this was also for the adolescent lit course. So yeah, it gets banned in a lot of places. A lot of these are banned books as well. So I recommend really picking them up because of that reason. They get banned in a lot of public schools and libraries and things like that. So I really recommend, go fight against Moms for Liberty and go read these books. Let's see, The Comedy of Errors. I had actually rarely read any Shakespeare before becoming an English major, and Comedy of Errors was really something that I enjoyed. I got to see I had to go see it. I had to go watch it as well, and I just found it very interesting. Found it very enticing. I thought it was funny. I thought it was really funny, and I got to kind of notice how it's been parodied throughout various other, movies and TV shows and cartoons and stuff like that throughout the years. And so I thought that was also worthwhile to see because I didn't know anything about that at the time. So that was really a fun thing to see. Macbeth. Uh, Wait, no, okay, no, Macbeth was good. Macbeth I enjoyed. Because I also had to read Othello, and I just straight up didn't put on here because I hate Othello. So, fight me, Harold Bloom. Wait, sorry, no, rest in peace, Harold Bloom. Let's see. I enjoyed Macbeth. And Macbeth was good. I enjoyed the story behind it, the fantasy aspects of it. Of course, it's Shakespeare, so of course he writes beautifully. So I don't really know if I have to go into it all that much, but Macbeth was great. The Tempest, eh. The Tempest was okay. The Tempest was fine. I was tempted to spark note it at times. I eventually trudged through it because it's a play. It's short, so I just got through it. I just went to a cafe and just read the dang thing, and it was okay. Like I said, it was fine. I enjoyed various aspects of it. Certain quotes and characters. Certain dialogues they had with each other. But aside from that, not much else. The Haunting of Hill House. Very much different from the Netflix show. Um, I enjoyed The Haunting of Hill House. This is again, I think from our Gothic lit class that I had to take, and I would definitely reread this now. Back when I read it in college, I don't think I had really the appreciation for it that I would have now. I found it interesting. I really did find it interesting from what I remember. But aside from that, yeah, it is just I don't want to spoil anything too much. It's another kind of short-ish one. I think it's a little over 200 pages. But it's definitely worth your time. It's a fun one. It's as far as like horror goes, it doesn't really hold a match to anything that's really going on now. The things that are being written now, but it's still very much horror based, and it has a good story to tell. We have always lived in this castle. I also enjoyed that one. That one's just an enjoyed. Um, kind of for the same reason a lot of these stories are on the enjoyed part of my list. It's a good plot. It's fun. It's interesting. Not much other than that. It didn't really make me love my major. I don't know if I'd reread it. I wasn't tempted to spark note it. Didn't make me want to drop out. It's just good. It's just a good story. All right, now for kind of a controversial one. Stephen King, The Shining. I had to read this for, I think, an American Lit course, one of my American Lit courses, and I was tempted to spark note it. I did not really care for it. Now, could this be because I saw Kubrick's film before reading the book? Maybe. My main thing is about it is King, and this is the main critique that I think King gets a lot for a lot of his books. He just doesn't drive home that ending well. And for the ride that he takes you on for The Shining, I expected a much better payoff than what I got. Okay, and for those that have read it, you might understand what I'm talking about. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed parts of it. I enjoyed certain aspects of it, and of course, it's King. I'm going to enjoy the story along the way. But the way it ended, for everything that went on beforehand, I don't know. Wasn't a fan. Wasn't a fan. Beloved, Toni Morrison. Would definitely reread that. I would definitely reread that. That is a fantastic book. I wish had read more Morrison in college. I wish I'd been assigned more Morrison. I have to go about doing that independently. I don't know why I don't now, especially with Loving Beloved like that. We ended up watching the movie as well for it, and she just writes wonderfully. Um, I don't know how to else to really. I don't know who to compare her to, because of that. She just writes very differently, and of course with the plight of the African American experience, something that I didn't understand, especially as a young college student, but came to understand in the only in the way that I can't could right. Um, you're reading this work, I was very much touched by it. As devastating as it is, I, was very much, uh, like I said, just taken aback by it. It's a beautifully written, devastating read, and I think it's fantastic. I would definitely reread that, and I should definitely go pick up one Morrison, um, to do so. Virginia Woolf, A Room of One's Own. This one I would say, uh, I enjoyed it. It's good. It's good. I took a whole Virginia Woolf class as well because I wanted to get into more kind of feminist lit, and especially with like the weird modernist stuff. And my favorite professor was teaching this, and she's a Wolf scholar, so she knows a lot about her. And so, A Room in One's Own, I would say I enjoyed that. That was a fun one. Very interesting, very good ideas contained within it. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. I didn't enjoy it. I don't have like a lot to say about it. Between the Acts was probably my least favorite for throughout the entirety of that course. So Between the Acts, really, I was tempted to spark note that one just because the way Wolf writes, I had to get used to. And I think we read this one last. So I was already kind of burnt out on a lot of stream of consciousness and things that we were reading about Wolf, and so I really had to get used to this, and was just kind of tired, and I had other things to read at the time. So I think I was just kind of burnt out on it. I To be honest with you, I don't even remember the plot to this one. However, let's see here. What are we getting into? Was this Jacob's room? Yeah, I think this is Jacob's room because we had to read Jacob's room. I also enjoyed. Here, put it right there after room one's out. Um, this one was really interesting. I think this is the first one we read, and it was my introduction to Wolf, and I was really taken aback by her prose style. That's what got me. That's what got me hooked on it as well, and made me start to want to learn more modernist ideas and writing and art and stuff like that. So I found it very interesting, and so I really it captured me in the way that hearing a song from a certain genre might capture you for the first time. You might not always go back to that one song, but you'll remember it, right? You'll remember it well, and you go, "Hey, I might not listen to that much anymore, but I like that one. I like that one right there." Now, Mrs. Dalloway, loved it. Chef's kiss. It's fantastic. I uh, wrote about this one, I think, the most in that class, and I read it and reread it. It's fantastic. And I don't know what else to say about it other than you should read it. It's great. It follows some very complex characters. It takes place only over one day, but so much happens in that one day, and there's so many different ideas contained within it, and it's beautifully, beautifully written. I don't really know what else to say. It's just a really well done piece of art, and I love it. It really made me love my major, made me love what I do. So yeah, To the Lighthouse would reread. This one was also fun. So Wolf is kind of all over the place, except she did not make me want to drop out. Again, she's a very inspirational figure. She writes incredibly well. Wrote, I guess, incredibly well. And To the Lighthouse was a very memorable one for me as well. Would definitely reread that. Should actually, because I need to remind myself of the things that she talks about in that one. Because I think we read that after Jacob's Room, and that's when I was kind of like, okay, okay, I think I know what's going on. I'm ready to go with this. This is an interesting one. The only one I wish we had read in that class was The Waves. I hear The Waves is fantastic, or Orlando. I hear those are also fantastic, which I have the waves, and I need to I'll go ahead and maybe I'll crack that open next. We'll see. But um, yeah, Wolf, fantastic writer, all over the place. Well done. Candide, Candide. This one I would reread Candide. I found it funny. In a very tragic way, like a dark comedy type way. And I think that's kind of what you're supposed to take away. I don't really know, but I thought it was very interesting. I thought it was a fun piece of literature. And although a lot of tragic stuff happens, I know a lot of very violent and not great things happen. Again, they make fun of that, the absurdity of the world, stuff like that, and I find it very interesting. So now for Faulkner, Absalom, Absalom. Main stuff I had to read for Faulkner was short stories. This is I think the only novel I had to read for Faulkner, which is Absalom, Absalom, and of course it's his most difficult. But man, it made me love my major. It made me love it. It made me love going into studying literature and studying writing and studying authors and things like that. It's just fantastic. It's well done. It's well written. It's very intricate. It's very complex. The stream of consciousness and the writing style goes on for pages and pages and pages with no punctuation, which I found incredibly difficult at times. It demands a lot of the reader, but I also found it very interesting. So yeah, it's a devastating read as well. It really captures you and doesn't let you go, and then hurts you severely. You get to see a lot of tragedy take place, and especially after reading a few more Faulkner novels and understanding some of the families and the characters, and how he kind of incorporates all of them together, it just makes it all the more sad. But again, all the more beautiful as well because of the way that he put it together. So, is he pretentious? Yes, not gonna deny that. But is the book good? Also, yes. Last one here, White Teeth by Zadie Smith, and I'm gonna put this on would reread. Would reread. I should reread it. From what I remember, it kind of carries a lot of the same ideas as it's very postmodern, so it's got a lot of irony as well. But it kind of reminded me a bit of like Candide or some other kind of like dark comedy. And it focuses a lot as well on race, colonialism, and things like that. I read it for that World Lit class, and I found it very entertaining. Zadie Smith is a contemporary writer, and I think she does a very great job with kind of highlighting the modern contemporary idea of like race and ethnicity and things like that, and identity and stuff like that. So I would put that definitely at would reread just because I read it very early on as well, and it's probably been 8 or so years now that I've read that book, so maybe almost 10, and so I really need to go back and check that out. So that is my tier list. Had these that made me love my major, stuff that I would reread, stuff that I enjoyed, things that I was tempted to spark note, and stuff that made me want to drop out at points. Regardless, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any suggestions on what you want me to do next, please let me know. I'm going to be posting reviews on here, more things similar to this, and anything else that I can think of. So I'm hoping to get through this. I have a full-time job, so I won't be always be able to do this, and the videos that come out might be inconsistent, but I want to be able to do this as much as I possibly can because I think it's fun and I get to talk about literature, which I don't get to do all that often because a lot of people around me don't really read like too many of these books and things that I read. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.